The year was 1939. The world watched in horror as Nazi Germany, led by the tyrannical Adolf Hitler, invaded Poland. This act of aggression shattered the fragile peace that had followed World War I, plunging the world into another global conflict. World War II, a war unlike any other, had begun. On one side stood the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, and Japan. Driven by expansionist ambitions and fueled by ideologies of hate, these nations sought to dominate the world. On the other side stood the Allies, Great Britain, the United States, the Soviet Union, and many others. Bound by a common enemy and a shared desire for freedom, they fought back against the forces of tyranny. World War II was a truly global conflict, with battles fought across continents, from the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of Southeast Asia. Millions of soldiers and civilians were caught in the crossfire, their lives forever changed by the horrors of war. For 6 long years, the world held its breath as the fate of humanity hung in the balance. On the Eastern Front, the battle raged between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. In the frozen city of Stalingrad, one of the most brutal battles in human history unfolded. The German army, confident in their blitzkrieg tactics, aimed to capture the city that bore the name of their enemy's leader. What followed was a grueling street-by-street fight that lasted for months. The Red Army, defending their homeland with unwavering resolve, fought with every ounce of their being. The battle turned into a desperate struggle for survival, with both sides enduring unimaginable hardships. The streets of Stalingrad were littered with the bodies of the fallen, and the air was thick with the stench of death. Against all odds, the Soviets held their ground. The tide began to turn in the winter of 1943, when a massive Soviet counteroffensive encircled the German Sixth Army, trapping them within the ruined city. Weakened by frostbite, starvation, and relentless Soviet attacks, the German forces finally surrendered in February 1943. The Battle of Stalingrad marked a turning point in the war. The German army suffered a catastrophic defeat, losing hundreds of thousands of soldiers and shattering their aura of invincibility. The victory at Stalingrad galvanized the Soviet people and marked the beginning of the Red Army's long and arduous march towards Berlin. On June 6, 1944, the fate of Nazi-occupied Europe hung in the balance. On that fateful day, known as D-Day, Allied forces launched the largest amphibious invasion in history. Under the codename Operation Overlord, thousands of ships and aircraft descended upon the beaches of Normandy, France. The objective was clear: to establish a foothold in Western Europe and liberate it from Nazi control. The task was daunting. The German defenses were formidable, the beaches were heavily fortified, and the outcome of the war hung in the balance. As the first waves of Allied soldiers stormed the beaches, they faced a hail of gunfire and artillery. The fighting was fierce, and casualties were heavy. Despite the intense resistance, the Allies fought bravely, inch by bloody inch, securing a foothold on French soil. The success of the D-Day landings marked a crucial turning point in the war. It opened up a second front in Europe, relieving pressure on the Soviets in the east and paving the way for the eventual liberation of France and the rest of Western Europe. While the war raged in Europe, another battle was being fought in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean. After the devastating surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the Japanese Empire seemed unstoppable, conquering vast swathes of territory in Southeast Asia and the Pacific. However, the tide began to turn in June 1942 at the Battle of Midway. This pivotal naval battle, fought near the strategically important Midway Atoll, proved to be a decisive victory for the United States Navy. American codebreakers had deciphered Japanese naval codes, giving them a crucial advantage in the battle. The Battle of Midway was a turning point in the Pacific War. The Japanese Navy suffered a crippling blow, losing 4 aircraft carriers and hundreds of aircraft. The battle shifted the balance of power in the Pacific, putting the United States on the offensive. From that point forward, the United States adopted a strategy of island hopping, capturing key islands in the Pacific one by one and pushing closer to the Japanese mainland. Each island won came at a heavy price, with fierce fighting and heavy casualties on both sides. Section 5, the atomic bombs, a controversial end to a devastating war. By 1945, the Axis powers were on the brink of defeat. In Europe, Soviet forces were closing in on Berlin. while in the Pacific, American forces were advancing towards the Japanese mainland. However, the war was far from over. Japan, despite facing imminent defeat, refused to surrender unconditionally. In a desperate attempt to end the war quickly and avoid a costly invasion of the Japanese mainland, the United States made the fateful decision to use atomic bombs. On August 6, 1945, an American B-29 bomber dropped an atomic bomb on the city of Hiroshima, instantly killing tens of thousands of people. 3 days later, another atomic bomb was dropped on the city of Nagasaki, resulting in further devastation. The use of atomic bombs remains one of the most controversial events in human history. While some argue that the bombings were necessary to end the war and save lives, others condemn them as horrific acts of violence. The debate over the morality and necessity of the atomic bombings continues to this day. Section 6: The Aftermath, a World Reshaped. On September 2, 1945, Japan officially surrendered, marking the end of World War II. The war had left an indelible mark on the world. Millions of people lay dead, cities were reduced to rubble, and entire economies were in ruins. The world was forever changed. In the aftermath of the war, a new world order emerged. The United States and the Soviet Union, once allies against a common enemy, emerged as superpowers, each with their own ideologies and spheres of influence. The rivalry between these two nations would shape the second half of the 20th century, leading to the Cold War. The war also had a profound impact on the course of human history. It led to the creation of the United Nations, an international organization dedicated to maintaining peace and preventing future conflicts. It also spurred technological advancements, particularly in the fields of aviation, medicine, and nuclear energy. Section 7: Untold Stories, Personal Accounts from the Front Lines and the Home Front. Behind the grand narratives of battles and political decisions lie the personal stories of individuals whose lives were forever changed by World War II. Soldiers who fought on the front lines witnessed unimaginable horrors, enduring unimaginable hardships, and displaying extraordinary courage. One such soldier was a young American paratrooper named John Doe, who parachuted behind enemy lines on D-Day. He later recalled the chaos and terror of that day, the deafening roar of gunfire, and the sight of his comrades falling beside him. Despite the horrors he witnessed, John never lost sight of his duty to his country and his fellow soldiers. On the home front, civilians also played a vital role in the war effort. Women took on jobs traditionally held by men, working in factories, shipyards, and hospitals. Children collected scrap metal and grew victory gardens to support the war effort. One such individual was a young woman named Jane Smith, who worked in a factory producing aircraft parts. She worked long hours, often under dangerous conditions, but she never complained. She knew that every rivet she fastened, every wing she helped assemble brought her country one step closer to victory. These personal accounts, often overlooked in history books, provide a glimpse into the human cost of war and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Section 8: The Enduring Legacy Lessons from the Ashes. World War II, despite its horrors, left behind a legacy that continues to shape the world we live in today. The war taught us the importance of international cooperation, the dangers of unchecked aggression, and the need to stand up for freedom and democracy. The war also serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the importance of diplomacy in resolving conflicts. The lessons learned from World War II, if heeded, can help us navigate the challenges of the 21st century and create a more peaceful and just world. It is our duty to remember the sacrifices made by those who fought for freedom, to learn from the mistakes of the past, and to work towards a future where such horrors are never repeated. Section 9: In Remembrance, Never Forget. As we reflect on the 78th anniversary of the end of World War II, let us remember the millions who perished, the countless lives forever changed, and the lessons learned from the ashes of a world engulfed in conflict. May their sacrifices never be forgotten, and may their stories continue to inspire us to strive for a more peaceful and just world. The echoes of World War II still resonate today, reminding us of the importance of vigilance, the fragility of peace, and the enduring power of the human spirit. As we move forward, let us carry with us the lessons of the past, honoring the memory of those who fought for freedom and striving to create a better future for all.